Hey there gang, Kawaii50 here with another Fate Grand Order video, and gang, it is time to talk about some of the best servants coming out this year in the game. And we're going to start with, of course, the 5 stars, because let's be honest, the 5-star characters are the most hyped characters. We're going to be doing 7 in this video, because everyone's doing 5 or 10. 7's a nice lucky number, and these are actually 7 characters I really wanted to talk about. So at the end of the day, it was me wanting to talk about these 7 that ended up setting the number for this list. So hopefully this video helps get you hype about some of these servants. Let me know who you might be rolling for down in the comments section below, and let me know who you think is the most exciting servant coming out in 2024. It can either be someone I mentioned on this list, it can be someone who isn't, you can mention someone for gameplay reasons, or you can mention someone just because you think the character is super cool. They don't even have to be on this list. And please like, subscribe, etc. All of those things really do help me out here on the channel as we go ahead and try to push for 10,000 subs by the end of this year. That is my goal. Hopefully we can hit it. But now we're done with the intro. You're not here for the intro, you're here for some characters. So let's go ahead and take a gander at number 7. I somehow managed to kick this off with the most awesome looking character on this entire list. Minamoto no Tamatomo's design is next level, but it's not just design that ended up putting him on this list. It is the fact that this archer does absolutely everything you want an archer to do. Crit damage because of high star weight, this man's got it. Buster performance for a set number of attacks, this guy's got it. The ability to increase his noble phantasm damage with a bit of survivability, man, this guy's got it. It is absolutely crazy. Chuck on this an ability to charge his noble phantasm every single turn, and 5, count it, 5 turns of ignore evasion, this guy's attacks are likely hitting. And in the event that they're not hitting because of something like invincibility or something like that, don't worry about that, because his noble phantasm gives ignore invincibility to boot. Whether you want to use this guy as a buster farmer or you want to use him to fight some bosses, Minamoto no Tamatomo is an excellent archer to add to your team. A truly gold standard for the archer class, and that is not just a joke on star rarity. My gosh, this guy is truly a shining example for the whole of the Genji clan. Now, let's move on to number 6.
この一時にすべてをこの一時に。これこそが利休の茶にございますれば、どうか存分にお楽しみを。一期一会。
Man, this character is super interesting. Senno Ru, a berserker class quick servant. My gosh, they just went ham with a lot of the kits this year, and it is astonishing. In any other year, many would consider Senno Ru one of the best servants, but she still clocks in at number 6 on this list. Riku's got, of course, a solid quick buff and an ability to increase her noble phantasm gain and grant a few critical stars to boot. She has the ability to grant herself some invincibility, something that is paramount for a berserker class servant as they are made of wet paper. And she also has the ability to increase her own critical damage and quick critical damage to boot. She doesn't have any sort of star gather like Minamoto no Raiko, but because she is quick, the general mindset behind her design is she will generate enough stars that it will not matter. And with 3 quick cards in her repertoire, that is very easy to achieve. If she only had 2, would not nearly be as good, but because she has 3, she is able to absolutely pull this off. Her noble phantasm is an AoE, so it's pretty standard. It does come with a nice NP seal and a bit of curse, so if you wanted to go ahead and use her in a curse comp, that is entirely possible. She's able to also increase her own overcharge, so if you're one of those people who, reads what boss traits are beforehand, and your enemy has the man attribute, you're going to bring Senno Ru and absolutely destroy them. To top all of this off, she is also chaotic evil, so if you wanted to use Ashiadomen to grant her a little bit of additional support, she is going to fit quite nicely with that help. Overall, Senno Ru, just a really solid quick berserker, something that is always a joy to see. Let's move on to number 5, a character you might recognize.
感受するの逃れることはできん。我が手、我が爪こそ星の息吹と知るがいい。
Another example of power creep being alive and well in FGO. How is this character this far down this list? But it is what it is. Archetype Earth, also known as Arade, is someone you'll probably recognize from a certain other type moon work. I think it's called Girls Work or something like that. Anyways, Arade has a pretty solid bevy of skills in her Moon Cancer class. An enemy-wide skill seal and defense reduction tied in with an attack boost, the ability to charge her Noble Phantasm gauge by a whopping 100% if you've invested in her skills, and the ability to grant a party-wide invincibility to boot in order to protect your supporters. Who are your supporters going to be? Well, probably a Koyanskaya, because she is an AoE buster servant, so you are going to be able to farm with her. She also has an ability that I feel like every servant that has a field focus should have. She is able to change the field to Millennium Castle Battlefield, which grants her a 30% boost to all of her cards, and every single servant who gets a boost from a field needs to have this in their kit. I'm looking at you, Nemo. Anyways, that's really all I've got to say about Arade. She is just massive NP charge, ability to AoE farm, party-wide defense reduction for the enemy, and the ability to protect your whole party, like Merlin. Overall, a fairly solid AoE buster servant. The things that ended up rocketing her up to this spot, as opposed to the other servants on this list, was mainly that 100% Noble Phantasm charge, which really opens up a ton of flexibility for you when it comes to craft essences. And let's move on to number 4, probably the servant on this list I am personally most excited for.
アンサラ
So I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I ended up calling reaction to this servant several years ago when she first came out. I immediately said that everybody was going to underestimate her, but my gosh, is she potentially going to be one of the best characters in the game once people figure her out. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. People ended up figuring her out. Bazette is a very interesting character. Her Noble Phantasm itself doesn't deal any sort of damage, but what it does is it draws all enemy focus to her and allows her to counter attack. She can counter attack with her Noble Phantasm. It won't end up depleting a break gauge if your enemy has some sort of break gauge, but if you are fighting a single enemy and you have the correct support for Bazette, that quick type support, well, she can absolutely melt enemies even with that stipulation. It seems like they had to put that in more to keep her from being completely and utterly fundamentally broken with break gauge breaking in between attacks than, as something that ended up absolutely crippling her. She can increase her own quick buster performance and critical damage. She can charge her Noble Phantasm by 50% and grant herself star absorption and a huge crit damage boost, and she can even grant herself evasion and crit stars on top of that. So even when she draws all of that attention to herself, at least the first time she does it, she doesn't necessarily need support to help her weather those attacks. She can still go ahead and just push her way through it in order to attempt to obliterate the enemy. Now, the main reason I didn't end up ranking her higher is mainly because of ease of use. That is something I have considered when looking at all of these characters. Bazette requires quite the understanding of whatever encounter you are going into, and she also requires a high degree of support. The rest of the servants on this list are either supporters themselves, or they just don't necessarily need it in order to perform well. And with Bazette, she definitely needs that extra mile. She needs that level of understanding when it comes to the game, and she also needs the support in order to pull off what she can do. But if all of those conditions are in place, odds are you will be using Bazette for a significant number of encounters. If you don't believe me, just go ahead and search a bunch of Bazette min turns over on YouTube. I think if I recall correctly, the one that really cemented my feeling that I actually called this was one Plushie Mistress did. Plushie's great. Please go ahead and take a gander at that video if you haven't seen it before, or go ahead and watch it again. Overall, it's a fairly entertaining min turn on Kiara. Now that I've talked about my servant I'm most excited for, let's talk about the ones that I had to rank higher to show you that, yes, I am looking at these objectively and I am not biased. Let's go ahead and move on to number 3.
遠い楽園、開かれた希望、香るひとひらを送りましょう。彼方でも確かにそこにあるぞ。兆しを抱いて歩みなさい。ウィンズ・オブ・アバロン。
And here's another example of I cannot believe this servant didn't end up being number 1. Lady Avalon. Proto Merlin. She's finally here. It's ridiculous. What does she do? Well, I'll tell you what she do. She is basically the arts equivalent of the Merlin we already have. She can grant her party party-wide invincibility. She can go ahead and increase the entire party's attack. She can increase their arts performance and crit damage in the vein of the Merlin that we already have. And she's able to bring a solid little overcharge bonus to the allies' Noble Phantasm herself, because, well, they're going to use their Noble Phantasm because they are an art style servant. And what does her NP do? Why, of course, it is Winds of Avalon doing the exact same thing, well, a similar thing, let's be honest, it does some additional stuff, that Merlin's does. It grants that NP gauge every single turn, it grants those critical stars every single turn, but rather than going ahead and just providing a heal every turn, it is just a static increase to the party's maximum HP, which, depending on your situation, might honestly be better. It really depends on how drawn out the fight is, and whether or not you're able to pop this multiple times. So she's an art servant. You're probably going to be able to pop this multiple times. Overall, a great servant for you to get if you have arts characters that you want to use but ended up missing out on a Castoria. She's not going to be as crazy as Castoria is for farming. However, when it comes to things like challenge quests, boss fights, story quests, there will be instances where you will probably want to at least have Lady Avalon on your team in some way or form in order to grant your allies that arts Noble Phantasm boost. Overall, a crazy character. Who else could be above her? Well, let's look at number 2.
我が愛しき命たち、我が麗しきあまたの水よ。さあ今こそ、舞い、踊り、立ち上る。ゲート・オブ・エーギル。
Gosh, this summer banner's insane. It's cracked. Deep Lightworks knew when they had this game what ended up making them the most money was those summer banners. So they just basically are like, let's make the summer banners even more valuable. Let's put more crazy units in there, like Skahawk Scotty Summer. She's a ruler to start with. So that's great. And what does she do? Well, imagine if Osakabe Hime was cranked up to 11. This incarnation of Scotty has two abilities that increase quick type performance for an ally. You end up maxing out her skills, that is going to be a crazy 75% quick performance. Damn. Damn. What else can she do on top of that? Let me tell you. She can increase the entire party's buster card performance, increase the critical damage of an ally's buster cards, and increase an ally's critical star absorption of their buster cards. Hang on, I'm not done. She also grants additional critical stars. She can charge an ally's Noble Phantasm gauge by 50%, and let's throw an attack boost in there just in case. Wait, she has a Noble Phantasm? What does that do? It deals some damage, whatever. The important thing here is it is quick type, and it reduces the NP gauge of your enemy by 1. So it ends up granting a little bit of leeway so you can continue to pound away at your opponent with quick type cards. What were they thinking? What were they thinking in building this character? This is delightful. Whether you are a quick user or a buster user, regardless, there's a bunch to love with this incarnation of Skahawk Scotty. And that is not just talking about her design, because her design's really good on top of that. But whether you're quick or you're a buster devotee, she is going to bring lots of love to either of those card types. So she might be worth rolling for on that summer banner. But wait, this is number 2. Is that number 1 also on the summer banner? Yeah, she is.
夏が来たりて限ろい揺れて雨が来たりて命が騒ぐお山のふもとを流れる山谷分かれて神となす息吹の御霊八脈怒涛
So Delightworks was like, do you know what people love almost as much as summer? They love Aoyuki and Raida. Which character ends up encompassing Aoyuki and Raida? Oh, Ibuki Doji? Okay, let's just go ahead and absolutely make her insane when it comes to all aspects of her kit. This is basically the holy grail servant of this year, and the main reason she's ranked so high, even above supporters. Normally you've seen me rank supporters like Lady Avalon and Skahawk Scotty Summer high in the past because they enable so many servants to, do their thing. They can buff up your whole team. When it comes to Ibuki Doji Berserker, she doesn't necessarily need that out of the box, but support on top of that ends up pushing her even further beyond. If you've been using a Berserker Summer Musashi, odds are she's gonna get benched if you summon this character. She's got a party-wide attack boost, a party-wide critical damage boost. She can increase her own Noble Phantasm generate as an art servant. She can increase her arts performance, her buster performance, which are most of her cards, by the way, while reducing her own skill cooldowns by 1. And she can charge her Noble Phantasm gauge by 50% again as an art servant, gain critical stars every single turn, and increase her star absorption in a Mama Raiko way. So she is going to be able to eat all those critical stars and include that with her own Noble Phantasm regen boost to continue to charge her Noble Phantasm, likely again. What does her Noble Phantasm do? Well, it's your general arts type Noble Phantasm. No big deal, it's whatever, but oh wait, does that remove all of your enemy's defensive buffs, even if it's, I don't know, something like an invincibility? Yeah, it does. And what does that do on top of that? It reduces an enemy's critical attack chance, something that is integral when it comes to boss fights and challenge quests? Yes, it does. The only thing keeping this servant in check is the fact that she has no survivability and is a berserker class. She is going to crumble like paper if she ends up getting sneezed at in her face, but that's what you've got supporters and CEs for, right? Even then, the enemy has to survive Summer Ibuki Doji's initial onslaught in order to deal damage to her, and chances of that are, let's say they're not great in the enemy's favor. Overall, I gotta say, when it comes to characters out of the box, if you were going to start a fresh FGO account this summer, and you ended up pulling Ibuki Doji Summer as your servant, use that special ascension immediately, and she is going to clear the vast majority of the game for you and carry you to victory. She is undoubtedly the best arts farmer in the entire game, and I really hope I'm able to get my own copy of her as well. She will be my main target on that summer banner, because my gosh, just like she's gonna just make the game so easy. So easy. It's insane. What were they thinking? Absolutely, what were they thinking? I think it is without a doubt that Ibuki Doji Summer is the best character coming out on FGO this year. But of course, I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts on the best servants from 2024 down in the comment section below. Let me know if you think there's anybody I missed, anybody you might be excited for, and what banner is going to be your primary banner target this year. As you're heading down to the comments, be sure to check out the Patreon, the Discord, and the Ko-fi. Huge thanks to everyone on those platforms for all of their support, and even bigger thanks to the new members of our moderation team on the Discord. Thank you all for taking up the mantle. I really, really appreciate all of your help. Anyways, gang, that's it for me, Kawaii50. I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you all in the next one.